I'm just looking for that.
Welcome to Del Marvelous Americana. I'm your host, Billy Earl Amos. This weekly program aims to examine the voices, the sounds, and the personalities of those people whose labor of love is music and the arts. Whether it's a local favorite or a rising regional act, we'll spend some time with them and their music here on WSDL 90.7 FM, streaming on delmarvapublicmedia.org. And you can also find us on YouTube channel and on PAC 14 in Salisbury. Del Marvelous Americana is brought to you by the Avalon Foundation, which is truly one of the crown jewels of the Eastern Shore and one of the premier venues to experience live music. Because, as we all know, a life without live music just ain't hardly worth it. This is Billy Earl on Del Marvelous Americana, WSDL 90.7. We're also on YouTube and we're on television, the ancient form of communication, both in Salisbury and in Easton. But we are thrilled today to have two people that I met over at the Avalon, who is our major sponsor. We were there enjoying live music, which, by the way, let us always remember that a life without live music is just ain't hardly worth it. But we were watching and we started talking, and I was amazed and just thrilled to find Dave and Cathy AIREL, who sponsor home concerts. I've seen them in Texas. I've never seen them here. They are an incredible idea. Welcome, folks, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Now, as you can see, I got a little local flavor here.
I was going to mention it.
Never gave it a thought. We underdressed.
Well, you know, to those that have been to Austin and enjoyed the music scene there, they miss it. You know, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it in New York or LA or any place else. But your time in Austin, who did you see there?
I'm taking that one.
Who didn't you see there?
Who did we see there? We saw a long list. We, through Dave's office that he worked with, we got quite a few opportunities to go to the ACL live tapings. We saw St. Vincent. We saw the Head and the Heart. We saw Rodrigo y Gabriela. Who's the other?
Que perfecto.
Oh, Dawes.
Dawes. Yeah, there were a couple others in there too. So that was very cool. Saw Lyle Lovett and his large band, which I never would have bothered with if we hadn't been in Austin, and I felt like I had to see Lyle while we were there. Now I'll go see him anywhere.
Big fan of Lyle. Big fan.
Yeah, big fan. Asleep at the Wheel.
Love him.
All the Austin locals that do the Continental Club, that do all the residencies. El Mercado has residencies. They have breakfast brunches, and the radio stations will bring people on. Waterloo Records will do record releases and bring in a lot of the locals there. So we got a chance to see many of the locals more nationally, Jackson Brown, Bruce Springsteen while we were there. So it was kind of a little bit of everything. But our favorites were definitely the clubs and the live.
Yeah.
Small.
Yeah. The intimate settings really make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
I won't go to stadium shows anymore.
We did just do one a couple weeks ago. We just went to see Springsteen.
Oh, where'd you see him?
In Baltimore.
Oh, cool.
Very good show.
When I was in college, I saw him down at the Warner Theater, and I have to tell you, it was the most exhausting concert I've ever been to. He wouldn't sit down. He wouldn't shut up.
Yeah.
On your feet all the time.
2 hours and 45 minutes with not a breath in between songs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, tell me who you've got coming to your home concerts. And here on WSDL, Del Marvelous Americana, we're going to delve more into this after this tune, but who's coming up?
Well, our very next artist is a rockabilly Philly, as she calls herself, from Austin, Rosie Flores. We've only seen Rosie a couple of times, but it's hard to categorize her. She's a little bit of Texas country, a little bit of hillbilly, and a little bit of blues. She's an awesome guitar player. She's won all kinds of awards, and she's toured with Sleep at the Wheel for a number of years. And I can't even remember who else. So she's pretty awesome, and she'll be here on May 6th, Saturday, May
Wow.
6th.
Is that show sold out?
It's getting close.
Okay, well, we're going to put this on radio and on TV as quickly as possible
Great.
to try and build audience. Okay, let's tee this up, and we'll be back in just a moment. We are here on WSDL Del Marvelous Americana. Okay, that was Rosie Flores. Quite a guitar player, isn't she?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like in Texas you can't shake a tree and have 8 great Texas guitar players fall out.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Um, who would you say was your favorite performer, and who would you say was your favorite venue?
Wow.
That's hard, isn't it?
It's so hard. Obviously, Continental Club and the gallery upstairs. So if you're in Austin, you got to go on a weeknight and climb the stairs next door and go and see who you can see there. Several are gone now, unfortunately, like Strange Brew is gone. That was probably one of our favorites. The Threadgills down where South Congress and First all come together, that's now gone, but there was nothing better than a warm summer night under the stars and listening to, at that time, Jimmy LaFave would have been wonderful. And
Oh, big fan
God
of Jimmy.
bless his soul. We miss him dearly. Let's see. I loved Antone's when it was on Fifth. We never did go after it moved over to the east side.
It's different.
Okay.
Not as good.
I'm sorry. We saw Gary Clark Jr. as a 17-year-old in his canvas high tops playing on a Monday night
As a high school senior.
I am so jealous.
You can't beat that. Golly, I did write down a bunch of them.
I suspect you all
honestly,
were. I suspect you all were fans of the Saxon.
Absolutely.
Oh,
yes.
Love that place.
Saxon was incredible. There are so many wonderful nights there. There was a great night at the Saxon where we went to see the South Austin Moonlighters, and the power went out. So we all went out to the parking lot and used our phones, and they played acoustic for us.
Wow.
That was pretty
With
cool.
headlights as
With headlights as the stage lights. And then we get out of town sometimes too. So we went down to Green Hall, which you cannot beat, and go on a Sunday afternoon and just see who's picking and fiddling and dance. We went to Bugle Boy in LaGrange. We went to Sam's Burger Joint in San Antonio. We went down to Old Porter.
It's a long list.
Yeah.
Boy.
So, you can't miss it. And then the weeks of South by, you couldn't turn around without live music. So a great place that they no longer have there now is on South Congress. And it was the parking lot for the Goodwill store. And they would bring the furniture out of the warehouse and hang chandeliers in a big oak tree. And all the acts would come in for 4 days straight and just play one after another out in the parking lot.
Yeah, 30 or 40 sofas and easy chairs from the warehouse spread out in the parking lot for folks to sit in.
Paradise.
The beer was free, if I remember right.
It might have been.
I strongly suspect that if there is a heaven, that's exactly what it's like.
I think so. Yeah, someone's living room.
After Rosie, I understand that Nora Jane is headed your direction.
Nora Jane is coming back. This will be her 5th time here, I believe. It kind of feels like family with Nora Jane. She and Joe did our first house concert, and we got that set up through a Kickstarter that we sponsored.
Okay.
We used that as a sort of a foot in the door to say, hey, would you consider these rookie house concert folks? And she was gracious enough to sort of trust us and came up and did a great show. And I think it was at that first show she announced that she and Joe were engaged. Her next trip back, she and Joe had gotten married. Their next trip back, they had bought their first house. And their next trip back was with Nora Jane's dad, who she'd recorded a record with, and their first baby. So it's kind of like having family when they come up, because it is family when they come up. They're the whole family. So she'll be here on June 10th, Saturday night, June 10th. And we're accepting reservations for that now. It's not full. We've got some time.
Okay, well, you audiophiles out there, all I can tell you is you better get your tickets, and you better get them quick, because word's going to get out about this. And people, I was in a place in St. Michael's last night, the Carpenter Street Saloon, and they have a jam there. And they have some pretty hot guitar players and some pretty hot musicians. And I was talking about this, and they didn't know what I was talking about, but they were thrilled.
Mm.
They were thrilled that this was going on. Let's go ahead and listen to a little Nora Jane, and we'll be back in just a minute. We got Dave and Kathy here, and they're talking Austin. They're talking music. Who knows? We might even talk barbecue. You just never know here on Del Marvelous Americana. Okay, we are back. That was Nora Jane Struthers. You say she did the very first show for you all. How many years ago was that?
It was July 2015, so 8 years ago.
Okay. How did that happen?
Well, we sponsored her Kickstarter, and it goes deciding to do house concerts goes way back.
Okay.
Kathy can tell you the story about how we went to our first house concert, and it was sort of at that house concert that I remember that we kind of looked at each other and said, "We got to do this.
We can do this."
And Kathy remembers it that I kind of looked at her and said, "No, we're going to do this when we went back," and she went something like this. But in any event, it was at that very first house concert that we decided we're going to figure this out and do it when we moved back to Maryland. And so Nora Jane just worked out from a timing standpoint, but it was perfect. It was a perfect night.
What a wonderful project. So she comes and performs, and everybody's thrilled, and you guys decide that you've got something really special here. So you decide that you're going to proceed. What a wonderful project to be working on. I wish I'd thought of it. I didn't. Let's go ahead and do this. You've got a show coming up August 19th with an artist that I am not familiar with. Tell me a little bit about Walt Wilkins.
All right. So you need to be familiar with Walt Wilkins.
I agree.
We just call him the Reverend. A Walt concert like going to church. And I don't mean that he's a Christian musician. I think he spent some time in seminary, but he is, I guess, my favorite songwriter, period.
Oh, okay.
I'm not qualified to decide who's good and who's not good.
Sure you are.
I'm qualified to decide who I love, and Walt is the guy that I love. So we've had Walt here 3 times before. He's coming back in August. And our concert on August 19th with Walt is going to be a little bit different. We filled up our living room every time he comes, and more people want to come every time he comes.
The church?
He plays in the area, every couple of years. He'll do a little mini tour through the Mid-Atlantic. So we know we can get way more than we can fit in our living room. So we've
Right.
struck up a relationship with a local church. Reverend Mark Del Hughes over at Christ Church, Kent Island, is a giant music fan, has hosted in his prior stations, has hosted folks like Slade Cleaves church concerts. So a mutual friend introduced us, and I went and I sat down and talked to Mark for a while, and he was gracious enough to give us a ginormous good deal on his sanctuary. So we hosted a concert there in January, Pat Byrne, who I'll talk about later. And we know we can get, 60, 70, 80 people, which is way more than we can fit in our living room. So we're going to host Walt's concert at the church.
A place to start and a place to go, and a mind and a heart and an open road, and it can all go a million ways, and that's what we get, and we get days. A fire at home and work to do, and some hard seasons to go through. Some fly like arrows, some feel like a maze, a path wide and narrow, and days. The sunrise and a sunset, what's behind and what's not yet. A chance to ride this light before it fades. Here they come, there they go, days. make some turns, you grow and change, and everything around you will do the same. Life moves in circles, and it moves in ways, and still blessedly simple days. The sunrise and a sunset, what's behind and what's not yet. Chance to ride this old light before it fades. Here they come, there they go. Days. Chance to ride this light before it fades. This was a good one, man. Days. Chance to ride this light before it fades. Happy birthday, man. Days.
Which is appropriate on a number of different levels. He's just an awesome, awesome person. And as I said, he's my favorite songwriter, full stop.
Wow. Well, now is Mark an honorary Texan or is he a real Texan?
He is neither.
No.
I don't know where he grew up, but he is he's a real live Texas music fan.
Then I consider him an honorary Texan.
Honorary Texan.
He's as Texan as we are. We grew up on the East Coast too. So.
Well, so did I actually, but Mama was born in Archer City, Texas.
Okay.
So I'm claiming some lineage here.
Wow. Well, we have nothing to claim.
No.
Just the years. That was all.
Yeah, we
By
used
the
to
way,
use the
you know
phrase,
why
"Well,
Archer
that's
City is
young."
famous?
I'm sorry.
Sorry?
Do you know why Archer City is famous?
You're not.
No.
Where James McMurtry's father has his bookstore, Larry.
Ah.
Oh,
Lonesome Dove.
wow.
It is the most chaotic, interesting, fascinating, unorganized mess of literature, just the way I like it, just the way I keep my library, actually.
Incredible.
But what an interesting man. What a he's not what you'd call gregarious, but he chooses his words and is conceptualizing carefully. And when he speaks, it's real, it's authentic, it's genuine, it's interesting. He doesn't talk just to talk, so I guess his radio career probably wouldn't go very far. You know, blathering is what, you know, gives me my my special special kind of place in this world.
So like father, like son with them then, because James and Larry sound very much alike.
Well, on my YouTube channel, I have an interview that I did with James, I think either 6 or 7 years ago at the Ram's Head. And it was a wonderful, mostly what he was doing was kvetching about the world of music, the streaming world, the lack of income for artists, for the lack of recognition for true artists. I consider McMurtry, he is my favorite songwriter of all time.
Yeah, he's high on my list too.
Oh, he's just amazing. The first time I ever heard his tome to the inequities of America, we can't make it here, I was in my car and I stopped the car and I just listened to it. I could not believe the lyrical content in this piece. It blew my mind. So of course I've seen him every chance I get.
Yeah, we've seen him a few times. He was one of our early, hey, would James be interested in doing a house concert? And he's one of the handful of folks whose managers just said, no, James doesn't do house concerts. I was like, good try.
Or at
Yeah,
least sure to do them.
Yeah.
He may do some in
He may do some in
Austin.
Austin, yeah.
gotcha. Okay. The next show you've got coming up here is September 9th with one of my favorites. In fact, she did the warm-up for James at the Avalon, which was a show that I think was rescheduled either 2 or 3 times because of the plague, as I like to refer to it.
Yeah.
But Betty Sue was she was remarkable. She was just so good, so warm, so effusive. It was just a great show. Let's tee up Whisper My Name by Betty Sue and give the audience a chance to for a moment to be honorary Texans in Austin, the world capital of Americana music and actually any other kind of music you want to name. We'll be back in a moment here on WSDL, Del Marvelous Americana. We cover the entire Eastern Shore. Or you can find us at delmarvapublicmedia.org. That's actually a better way to listen to the show because it's clear and clean, and you can come to it later. Anyway, let's tee this up, and we'll be back in a moment.
Lifted my chin and brushed the hair from my face, and your hand felt warm when it slipped around my waist. I've never been good at learning my place, but all my thoughts escaped when you whispered my name. When you whisper my name, when you breathe me in, when you hold me close, all the trouble I've seen disappears into the night. And I know the tighter I hold on to you, the more everything will become right. When you whisper my name, the stars seem to shine brighter when you're near, and you see when I'm sad before I shed a tear. Never felt so at home in my skin till you got here. When I feel you speak, you erase my fear. When you whisper my name, when you breathe me in, when you hold me close, all the trouble I've seen disappears into the night. And I know the tighter I hold on to you, the more everything will become right. When you whisper my name, I thought I knew what love was long before I met you. I lived plenty of years with a heart broken in two. When you whisper my name, when you breathe me in, when you hold me close, all the trouble I've seen disappears into the night. And I know the tighter I hold on to you, the more whisper my name.
Okay. When did you first come into contact with Betty Sue?
Oh, boy.
I think I remember that
Do
one.
you?
Well, maybe we'd seen her, but it was to this first venue for house concerts that we had originally started with, and she performed there. And the thing I remember about that is that those hosts, every concert would etch a wine glass, 2 wine glasses with the name of the performer and the date. One would go to the artist and one would be auctioned off, that the money was collected and then given to some, I'm sure it was to HAM, which is Health Alliance for Austin musicians. So I won the wine glass that night at the house concert. So we had a chance to talk with her. We loved everything about her at that point and invited her, and she knows many of the artists that had already been here. They're all good friends there.
Yeah.
So she got good word about us and decided to come out. But she is here on the East Coast for the Easton plein air most years. I think that's maybe why she was there at the Avalon, because she's in town for the plein air.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard the term. I can't say that I'm a friend of his, and I actually know his wife better than I know Ray Wiley Hubbard. We both got sober many years ago at the same AA group. But he refers to that connection among artists there as the Wimberley Mafia, which I think is a wonderful term.
Appropriate, indeed.
Anyway, speaking of charitable things, just for you all out there, make sure and go to uskennels.org. It's the marriage of a rescue dog and a PTSD veteran and/or first responder. They need your love, they need your support, and they need your shekels. So feel free.
Nice.
We have Angela Easterling and Brandon Turner. I know those names, but I'm not familiar with their work. Tell me a little bit about them.
Yeah, so they kind of break the mold. As you know, Billy, we tend to sort of specialize and focus on Central Texas artists.
Yeah.
That came about from, being at a lot of dive bars for 8 years, living in Austin. We came back with a mighty long list of folks who either had a small audience on the East Coast or didn't have any, and we thought this would be a great way to bring them in, give them a gig where they could have a place to stay, feed them a meal, earn enough to build a little tour around it, and start to form an audience on the East Coast. And that's kind of the way we specialize all along. But every once in a while, we'll stumble on, or someone will stumble on us who's not from there. And Angela's not from Texas. She's got no connection to Texas other than she's a 3-time Kerrville New Folk finalist.
Honorary Texan.
Honorary Texan, for sure. She's actually a South Carolinian many, many generations back. And she and Brandon, they were coming through a couple of years ago and reached out to us. They were going to be doing a concert at a library not too far from here. And we listened to their music and we kind of liked it. And we thought, you know what, let's go meet them and talk to them and see if we think they're a fit. And they're just wonderful people. So we did offer them the first concert, and Angela's the writer and the lead singer. Brandon is the guitar player extraordinaire. Kathy's convinced I have a man crush on her.
Man crush.
She's right. But they'll be back on October 14th, and they've got a brand new record out. And Witness is the single off it, and it's the name of the record, and it's charted pretty well on the Americana charts.
Wow, that's great. Quick shout out to Jeb Stewart Seiler, son of the South, one of my oldest and dearest friends. He lives in Brenham, but he was headed for Kerrville today. He's not a music guy, and he listens to music voraciously, but he builds trusts. But anyway, one of the things that got me into Texas music many, many, many years ago was him, and I thank him for that. Okay, let's tee this up, and we'll be back in just a moment. This is Del Marvelous Americana. Welcome. Join us Sunday nights at 9 p.m. You can also find us on YouTube. You can find us on PAC 14 in Salisbury and on ECTV in Easton. So let's do a little bit of Angela and Brandon. We'll be right back.
Always thought I'd be the one to leave you in the morning without a word. I never meant to disappoint or grieve you. You've been gone for years. There's not a day it don't hurt. Learned your lessons well. I've got a tale to tell, and I'll be your witness. I'll be your witness. I'm doing fine. I've got a life that's mine, but I'm still your witness. I'm still your witness. Hey. Take the simple road and say you never loved me, 'cause I think you tried. I think you tried. That immoral that you put so far above me, it was just a lie. Your alibi. Learned your lessons well. Got a tale to tell, and I'll be your witness. I'll be your witness. I'm doing fine. I got a life that's mine, but I'm still your witness. I'm still your witness. Hey. I'm always gonna look for all the pieces of you that lie deep in my bones. When you surface there, I'll say I'm sorry. I don't have to be right. I don't have to be strong. Learned your lessons well. Got a tale to tell, and I'll be your witness. I'll be your witness. I'm doing fine. I got a life that's mine, but I'm still your witness. I'm still your witness. Hey.
Okay, we are back. When you have kind of a specialized way of doing your house concerts. Tell me how that percolated.
Well, the specialized part of it is really that we focus on the Texas artists, but for a number of reasons, we're very careful about making sure folks know these are private events. We don't publish we hold most of them in our home, as we said earlier. We don't publish our home address anywhere for obvious reasons. We want to know sort of who's in our house.
Smart.
But the other thing is that there are copyright issues, and we're very careful. You know, we do these. We don't keep any of the money. Every dollar that comes in goes to the artists. It costs us money to hold every one of these concerts, which is fine. We knew that going in. But there are copyright issues. If you're not careful, you can inadvertently post an artist who plays a cover song and find yourself being fined.
Happens all the time.
Copyright infringement. So Folk Alliance has a thing called the Pro Agreement. And that's an agreement that they have with all the licensing organizations, ASCAP, BMI, et cetera, that covers house concerts in what they call their Pro Series. And it covers all those copyright issues. So you can do whatever you want. The artists can play whatever they want when they're here. But there are restrictions. It has to be a private event. So we're very careful to make these private events. We don't let people just show up at the door. People have to register ahead of time. They have to be on our email list. And they have to let us know who's coming and all that. We also still have our COVID protection in place. We want to see either a vaccination card in advance or a negative COVID test.
I would.
We're just being very careful. We have a number of folks on our mail list who are immune compromised, and we're just being very careful from that perspective as well. But the way house concerts in general work is just that. There's a mail list. You have to be on the mail list to attend. Invitations go out. You started to see them yourself. And, once you decide to attend the concert, it's very easy. Just sign up and you're on the list.
Okay. So how we do it at Macum Creek Concerts, your website is what?
www.Macum Creek, that's MACUM Creek Concerts, all one word, .com.
Gotcha.
And everything you need is on that website. We also have a Facebook page. If you just search where it says Macum Creek Concerts on Facebook, you'll find us there too.
Gotcha. Okay, let's do this. Let's bring up our next artist. This would be Barbara Nesbitt, and this is November 11th. That Kind of Love is a song we're going to listen to. We'll be back in just a moment. This is Del Marvelous Americana, and we have Dave and Kathy, honorary Texans, here with us today. Let's tee this up, and we'll, like they say in Texas, let's get after it.
All right, this is a song that I wrote about some friends of mine, Jim and Linda Cannon, who danced their way to 58 plus years of marriage. This is called That Kind of Love. North of El Paso, on a sunny summer corner of Grenada Street, in the Tularosa Methodist Church one Sunday, her long legs walked her in and her eyes did meet. They prayed their prayers and they sang their songs, and when she turned and smiled, he went, well, we a short story long. It's 1957 TR3. 58 years and not a day's gone by. At least that's how he feels with her by his side. And that's the kind of love that I want for mine. He said I do to his beautiful bride. Her daddy gave a toast and a slap on the back. His mama stepped up with a gleam in her eye and said, girl, you know you got him and you can't give him back. He gets a kiss with supper each night. She gets a penny for her thoughts each day. They know how to love, they know how to fight, and they never miss a chance to dance on Monday. 58 years, not a day has gone by. At least that's how she feels with him by her side. That's the kind of love that I want for mine. Ooh, I want to have that kind of love, why can't I? And they've danced every dance since she put on her wedding ring. And if I ever get the chance, I'll do the same thing. the same thing. Excuse me. "58 years, and not a day's gone by. At least that's how he feels with her by his side. And that's the kind of love that I want for mine. Ooh, I wanna have that kind of love, why can't I? That's the kind of love that I want for mine. Ooh, I wanna have that kind of love, why can't I? Said I wanna have that kind of love, why can't I? Well, I wanna have that kind of love, why can't I?
There you go.
Okay, we are back. Barbara Nesbitt, tell me about Barbara.
Well, Kathy's got to tell you how we met Barbara.
I
That's the
have
story
a
of the day.
story.
All right.
So this is kind of a like Louis, this is a beautiful friend. This is the beginning of a beautiful friendship kind of thing. I had a lot of free time when I was in Austin because I didn't work all that much. I was back and forth to Maryland a lot. I was volunteering at the Austin Food Bank, and the crew would take a break, and I sat down in the break room with the whole group of people and got to talking and noticed a woman wearing I believe it was it might have been a Saxon t-shirt. I'm going to say it was a Saxon t-shirt. And I said, "Oh, I like your t-shirt. I like the venue there." And she said, "Oh yeah, well, I performed there." And I said, "Really? What's your name?" And she told me her name, which didn't mean much, but then she said that she was part of a duo, which I hesitate to mention because that may be a little problem, mentioning the duo.
I don't think it's a problem.
But
I think I know who you're
anyway,
talking about. Hey, let's listen to some Pat Byrne here on Del Marvelous Americana 90.7.
She circled the wagons, she didn't give me a chance, and she pulled my heart out with a seismic glance. And this race was over before it even began. If I was a horse, they'd shoot me, but I'm only a man. If I had a designer, he was well equipped. He was tried and tested, and he stuck to the script. He drank a bottle of brandy before he drew up my plans. If I was a house, they'd knock me down, but I'm only a man. I get lost in translation, I fly into a rage, I splatter affection all over the page. But this is no love story, we're not Jack and Diane. If I was a letter, you'd return me, but I'm only a man. And the songs of fondness carry me up towards the planets. Then the songs of numbness send me crashing back down to earth. I'd catch the stars if they'd help me know what you're thinking. And if I could paint your dreams, then I would, for all that it's worth. But I can't. Now it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm lying here on the floor, waiting for an answer, for your knock at the door. But you're on greener pastures, you've slipped through my hands. Still, if I had wings, I'd fly to you, but I'm only a man.
Anyway, she said, well, I'll be performing at Strange Brew on Thursday night, and I'll be at the Continental on Friday night or something like that with the duo at the Continental. And she said, you got to come see us. So I said I would come see her, and we sat right up front. When she came around with the tip bucket, I said, I met you the other day at the food bank. And she says, of course, yes. And we've been friends ever since. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time emailing with her, but when she comes, we always have such a wonderful time. She is such a genuine person. But we both love the musical South Pacific, and we'll just sing, I'm going to wash that man right out of my hair. We talk about books. She's watched the Final Four game with us and not cheered against Duke.
Yeah, and to top it off, she's an aeronautical engineer and a pilot.
Oh my goodness.
And can't get a sentence out without dropping an F-bomb.
I got to meet this woman.
Oh, she's incredible. A lot of fun.
But she doesn't speak badly of Duke.
I don't.
She doesn't speak of Duke, now that I remember.
Okay.
It was Duke versus oh my goodness. Wow. I'm having a total senior moment. Fighting Irish.
I got to tell you, as a lifelong Maryland fan, I've always had problems with both Duke and with North Carolina, but I'm getting help.
That's okay.
Okay, let's talk about somebody that has really gotten my attention lately. And you all also have a page, or you have a channel on YouTube, and you have an artist there that you have some work. His name is Pat Byrne.
Mm-hmm.
Pat Byrne is a monster. Mm-hmm. Tell us how you got to know him.
So the first time we saw him in concert, one of the projects he has in Austin is an Irish band. They just get together and jam out on Irish music, and it's called ULA, U-L-L-A. It's Pat, it's Andrea McGee, Rich Brotherton, and 3 or 4 others that kind of come in and out. But Pat is from the eastern part of Ireland, and the minute he opens his mouth, you know that. He described himself as a walking Irish flag, which is pretty accurate when you look at him.
Nathan Bigorra, yes.
Yeah,
oh, yeah,
but he did a couple of his original songs as part of the ULA set, and they just stuck with us. And I don't remember what prompted me to reach out to him, but we did. And he not really his formal agent, but sort of a mentor in Houston. We hooked up with him and arranged for Pat to come out for the first concert. And I don't think we had ever seen him solo before. We'd only seen him with ULA. And I'll tell you, you said it, he's a powerhouse. He writes beautifully. He's a great guitar player, and what a voice. And what a lot of folks didn't know about him, I discovered it long after we booked him to come here, was that when he was still in Ireland in 2013 or 14, he won the first season of The Voice Ireland.
Wow. Okay.
And if you look hard enough, it's hard to find on YouTube. If you Google Pat Byrne, The Voice Ireland, and The River, you'll hear him covering Springsteen's The River, and he's done it both times he was here.
It's a magnificent performance. I did just that.
It is just stunning. It is just stunning. So Pat's a powerhouse. He was here in June of 2022, and within a week after he left, we were trying to book him for January 2023, and we were fortunate enough to be able to work that out. His was the first show we had over at Christ Church,
Right.
and we had close to 60 people there. And the guy nobody knows him on the East Coast. They will.
That's a shame.
Oh, they will.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that music. For approximately 2 weeks before St. Patty's Day and 2 weeks later, I do a Friday night set at Flannery's. Here's a little advertisement for Flannery's in Salisbury. Stuart Davis is a brother Irishman, but he was formerly trained in New Orleans in Cajun cuisine. So it is the place to be. But I do my set in my tartan and in the whole thing, and I do a song that is based on a conversation I had with my mother's best friend, who I believe was from Derry, Pagamahoan, a term that probably shouldn't be thrown around too much, but it's a great song title nonetheless. Anyway, Pat is a terrific, and I'm really looking forward to that. Now, let's talk a little bit about Jamie Harris. Who is Jamie Harris, and have they been there with you before?
Yeah, so Jamie is an artist that we heard as we were more or less packing our bags to move back from Austin. I'm not even 100% sure where it was. I want to say it was at Threadgill's outside, but it might have been somewhere else where she did one of these little 20-minute sets where it's 20 minutes and a break, 20 minutes and a break.
Right.
And it just stuck with me. She sang a song called Snow White Knuckles, which is pretty much her life story. And it just stuck with us, stuck with me. I don't know if it stuck with you as much, but I couldn't get her out of my head. And so she had never played on the East Coast. So I contacted her about doing a concert, and it was very much I would love to, but nobody knows me there. Well, then she wound up connecting with, I don't remember the guy's name. There was an artist out in the Gaithersburg area at the Gaithersburg Arts Barn. He curates those shows as well as being a singer-songwriter himself. And he booked Jamie for a show. And she was on the East Coast for something else, I think, when she was doing this. So we went out and spent some time after the show talking to her then and saw the show. And that was the thing that just put it over the top. We knew we had to host her.
Because where I grew up, there's a steeple that literally casts a shadow on the west side of I-35 where there's a Caritas Relief Office and a Salvation Army. I was working at the supermarket when I fell for Julie, knocked her up like everybody said I would. The day I turned 16, I got that job. Couldn't wait to buy a car, save enough. Leave this town for good. In August, I asked Julie if she'd run away. She said she wanted to wait till May to graduate. She'd be the first in her family, so I stayed behind. and you spin in circles round and round in this boomerang town. It's a boomerang town. Julie got a GED and a job of 35. The only joint in town that's open all night. The diner next to the seminary. She serves the truckers, the troubadours, the punks, the college kids who trash their booze, all stoned and drunk, who always pay but never tip with daddy's money. Julie and I come from similar kin, heavy drinkers, quick to anger's fist to skin. They all live and die here. That won't be us, I swore to her. I promise you will see the world. I just don't know when. As for me, the only dream I've ever had is getting out of this boomerang town. You think you're soaring, you think you're flying, too young to know there's no use trying. You spin in circles round and round in this boomerang town. It's a boomerang town. After shift, she lights a smoke up on the bridge. Under the billboard painted Jesus lives. Julie steps over the rail, thinks about salvation. The sun arrives and collides with the steeple, casts a shadow over God's most desperate people. Julie takes it as a sign. Let's go and start flying. As for me, the only dream I've ever had is getting out of this boomerang town. It feels like soaring, it feels like flying. Now I know it's only dying. You spin in circles round and round in this boomerang town.
So we invited her in. She actually had a friend playing, I'm not going to remember where, somewhere else, a couple of nights after the show. So she spent 3 or 4 nights with us anyway. And we really got to know her and really, really like her as a person. She's just a wonderful person. And over the years, she's developed into what I think, and I'm going to do what I said I'm not qualified to do, and say she's developed into an incredibly good songwriter. And she recently signed a record deal. She's been here, I think, 4 times. Recently signed a record deal with 30 Tigers. She put a record together 2 years ago called Boomerang Town. Reminds me an awful lot of the Nebraska Springsteen days.
Gotcha.
That kind of style. The record is the full band, but when we used to see her solo, she would sing with just her guitar, much as Nebraska was recorded. But she's just an incredible songwriter, and I think her latest record, Boomerang Town, she's charting on the Americana charts now. She's in the, I don't know, mid-teens or something. But that's going to be the record that really takes her off. She's touring right now. In fact, she'll be, it'll be too late. Tomorrow night, she's playing in somewhere down in Rockville, I think, at a solo show that's probably sold out by now. So she's just a terrific singer-songwriter and a terrific person too.
Just real briefly, I mean, her mentors were Jimmy LaFave and Betty Sue.
Wow.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah, lots of YouTube videos of her and Jimmy playing together.
A million years ago, when I was a young man, I used to do some work at a Lutheran church in Fort Worth, and we hosted a show by Jimmy. And it was really interesting because before the show, Jimmy was working his own merch table. He didn't have anybody else who could do it. And I had been talking to his bass player, who strangely enough was from Baltimore, Maryland, and a great player too. Jimmy didn't really want to do that, so I volunteered. So I worked the merch table for him. And then when it was over, we did the same thing. My daughter went to Trinity University there in San Antonio, and Jimmy was her favorite. She had never really been exposed to country music of any sort, not Texas music or what I call Texas country blues. But Jimmy has such a way with a song, and she was pretty familiar with Dylan growing up because that was my main appetite for music. Mm-hmm. But when she heard Jimmy and she heard him take many of Dylan's songs and make them so much better, so much better. It was just it was a moment of clarity, as one might say.
Yep.
Well, we are coming kind of to the end of this show. I really want to thank both of you for taking the time to do this. This show is going to run. Jimmy Rowbottom is our guest tomorrow night, and a week from then, this show will air. Okay, it's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on PAC 14. It's going to be on ECTV, I hope. But it's definitely going to be on NPR on WSDL 90.7 in beautiful downtown Ocean City. We have our studios in Salisbury, but the tower is in Ocean City. And of course, we're trying to get all those people. But again, I profusely thank both of you. Namaste. And as they say in Texas radio, adios.
Adios.
Thanks so much.
Adios.
We really appreciate this.
Thank you so much.
This was fun.
This has been Del Marvelous Americana here on WSDL 90.7 FM and streaming at delmarvapublicmedia.org. We produce this show at Delmarva Public Media Salisbury University Studio, and we get production help from Angela Semig and Brian Russo, who is our managing director. Remember, you can find this program on the YouTube channel, on PAC 14, on our website, and make sure and visit the show page at delmarvapublicmedia.org. Special thanks to the Avalon Foundation for sponsoring this program, and if you're looking for a tip, take it from your old pal Billy Earl and go see a live show at this incredible venue on Dover Street in historic Easton, Maryland. And of course, special thanks to my guest today. Make sure and check out their music and/or art and everything they do. I'm Billy Earl, and thanks for listening to Del Marvelous Americana And if you remember one thing from today, just remember that a life without music and art just ain't hardly worth it.